I'm Frederick March. I'm here to show you what the best practices are to change your life and to become more successful in everything you do. This is episode 3, My Eating Habits. Hey, how you doing? Reb Fred, or just Frederick March here. How you doing? So, I want to talk today about intake and release. I'm talking about food. I'm talking about sustenance. I'm talking about what we feed our body. Just for some background from me, I have been on pretty much every diet you can pretty much think of. I tried them all: paleo, keto, vegetarian, you name it. I've done it all, and most of the time really didn't do anything for me as far as my weight loss is concerned. There has been some diets that I went on that were intense, like protein diets, where I would just have protein shakes for 3 meals a day, and that's it, and nothing else. And I had to take sodium pills and all kinds of other multivitamins in order to. And yes, in the month that I did that, I lost like 30 pounds in that month, but I gained 30 pounds plus an extra 10 pounds back after that month was over, because at the time it was financially, and still would be financially, just unfeasible for me to continue that process. And I wasn't sure how I was feeling. Yes, okay, I had energy, I was, able to do still my life, but something didn't feel right. And when I stopped, I didn't change what's going on up here. I didn't change anything. So, and that's the thing with all diets, until you change the way you think of food, until you change the way you think of you. If you can't see yourself as being thin, fit, and in shape, and visualize that and see it, and have then all of a sudden your system is preparing for that process to become in shape, to do that, to get there. And if you can't see that, for me, this is how it is. Now, nothing I'm telling you is medical advice on dieting and what's best for you, because I have no idea what's best for you. I'm telling you what I did for me. I have been in my life over 400 pounds. I have been for the last, I don't know how many years, around 350. For me, I never really, yes, okay, I have self-esteem issues about the way I look. I have pain about all that stuff, and I have insecurities because of that stuff. But being overweight didn't really affect my everyday life until now, when I'm getting into my 50s. I'm starting to feel myself having aches and pains and sore backs and sore necks and sore legs, and it's now affecting me. But before that, even though I was 350 pounds, I could still ride my bike everywhere. I can still go to the gym and work out. For some reason, my body didn't respond to anything that I was doing in order to lose weight. And, I had mindsets about stuff, if I was on a diet or whatever I was doing, and I would lose a few pounds, I started feeling excited, and then all of a sudden you'd plateau. I would think, oh, it's not working, and then I would give up. I don't think I'm alone. I think we're all in the same boat in that area. You just kind of think, oh, it's, and then just think, okay, well, it's not doing it for me what I needed to do. So why am I restricting my lifestyle? Why am I stopping myself from having the things that I want to have? Now, I've also was diagnosed with diabetes. I didn't know it when I was in my 30s or 40s that I had diabetes, but all of a sudden I was feeling sick one day. I went to the doctor. They went to check, and they said, oh, you seem tired. They did a blood work, and my numbers were at like 22. So apparently that was really high. So was diagnosed with diabetes at the time, and that came with being on all kinds of medication, because if you have diabetes, well, then you're predisposed to heart problems, and you're predisposed to cholesterol problems, you're predisposed, and so you take medications, and I'm taking medications for those things. My plan is to get off medications. I'm not recommending that to anybody. I'm not recommending that to anybody. I'm not even sure I should do it, but the plans are to slowly, when I start to change my body, just for what I'm doing now, seems to be working for me. This shirt I'm wearing, I couldn't button up a month ago. I couldn't put the shirt on and button it up because it would pull, and so what's happening to me, but I don't feel in my life like I'm restricting anything. But I also have started seeing myself fit and healthy and strong and running and swimming and push-ups and pull-ups, and physically seeing myself becoming active. And I believe that because I can see that my reticular activating system is starting to kick in to get me to notice that when I eat this food, I don't feel good. When I eat that food, I do feel good. Because in the past, you live on a lifestyle of junk food. You don't see. You don't realize, oh, that is what's making me feel bad. That's what's making me feel sore. That's what makes me feel tired. And so you just go and go and go and go. And then one day, all of a sudden, you decide, like I did, and say, well, maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe I'm really messing myself up. Like, physically, yes, I'm a big guy, 350 pounds. I don't weigh that now. Another factor, it's kind of a little adjunct. I don't weigh myself. Something about weighing myself causes me to stop if I plateau. If I gain weight one day and I lost weight the day before, the week before, and it affects me spiritually and emotionally, and I get frustrated and I stop. So for me, I chose not to, because I'm not going to use that as my metrics to determine if I'm going to be healthier, if I'm losing weight. I'm going to use the way my clothes fit. I'm going to use how I feel. I'm going to use my abilities, my strength, my how many sets I can do of something, how many reps can I do of something, how much more weight can I lift of something, how long can I go doing some activities. That's the plan. At this point, I am focusing on my eating habits and how I eat and what I eat and when I eat and all this kind of stuff. And so for me, what I've chosen is a delayed eating process. So I have an eating window. And so I don't eat until noon, and I don't eat after 6 o'clock. So I have a 6-hour window where I can eat pretty much whatever I feel like eating. And, perhaps it's because my mind is on something different. Sometimes I indulge and I have something junk foody. But most of the time I'm not. Most of the time I'm looking at the situation, I'm thinking, okay, when I have that, I don't feel so good afterwards. When I eat this, I have stomach cramps, I have problems, I have difficulty, because one of the things that I am trying to do in my life in every area, spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything, is to be more mindful of my thoughts, mindful of my physical being. How do I feel? What's happening? How does this food affect me? How does this food affect me? How do I, why am I sore when I do that? Why am I sore when I do this? Why am I moving the wrong way? How come I can't stretch as far as I want to? What's stopping me? What's restricting me? And then using methods to, and I'll get into this in the physical area afterwards, because right now I'm talking about food, sustenance, So you just being mindful of what I'm eating and when I'm eating it. Now, there's basic things that you can take into consideration. The basic thing for me is I do not want to eat very much processed food. Now, I have, and I do, and I will. But I don't beat myself up. But I like to stay within that window. 12 to 6. Now, to say that I've never gotten outside of that window would be a lie. I've had ice cream in the evening last night at 8 o'clock because we were all having ice cream. We were watching a show. It was entertainment. It was fun. It was a treat. My whole system hasn't gone out the window because of it. In the past, my whole system would go out the window because of it. But I am on a mission. I am changing me. I need to change how I perceive things. I have to change how I perceive failure in the area of diet and nutrition. Because I can have failure, and it doesn't mean I am a failure. It doesn't mean I need to give up because I've had failure, because I've indulged in something that I shouldn't have indulged in, eating something that I know I shouldn't. I will pay the consequences for that. Like, I had ice cream last night, 8 o'clock at night, and I feel bloated today. Why do I feel bloated? Well, probably because I had ice cream last night, and I know that dairy and I have not a fantastic relationship, right? So, for me, what I'm saying to you is you need to learn about you. I remember when I first got diagnosed with diabetes, people would say, oh, you can't have this, you can't have that, you can't have this, you can't have that, but you can have this and you can't have that. And I'm like, okay. So at the time I was like, okay, well, I'm not allowed to have this. I'm not. And then it's like, okay, I tried having those things and tested my blood sugar, and I realized my blood sugar wasn't spiking after I had that. So for me, it was okay to have that thing. Somebody else couldn't. Somebody else would have that thing with diabetes and their blood sugar would spike and it would cause a problem for them. We're all individuals. Because when it comes to the food you take in, it's not just about the food that you take in. It's a big factor about the food you take in. Whole foods are much better. Much better. Less processed is better. That's much better. But it's also about your gut biome. It's also about your digestive system, with your digestive tract. What kind of gut health do you have? Is it digesting things the way it's supposed to? And even, who knows, at this point, maybe your genetic background might be a factor as well. Like, I did my DNA thing a little while ago, and I found out that I'm almost, pretty much 100% Southern England. My DNA is from. Okay, well, my mom was born in Newfoundland. My father was born in Newfoundland. But I guess because that's just the way the genetics works, I am almost 100% Southern English from Southern Britain. So because of that, I am thinking, okay, what was their diet like? For me, some people couldn't have potatoes. I have no problem with potatoes. Maybe that's why. Maybe genetically that's why I was okay to have potatoes. Now, I have bananas, and people say you're not allowed to have bananas, but I have bananas and it doesn't spike my numbers. And I feel good afterwards and I feel full. And I know bananas are not something natural to the Southern England. So, whatever. So, who knows? Maybe it's a factor. Maybe it's not a factor. I don't know. I've looked into it. Sometimes it seems like it corresponds. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't really matter. I enjoy a wide range of culinary foods. I used to be a cook, a chef for a while, and I've cooked Greek food and Italian food and, Chinese and Korean, and I love cooking different types of food, so I'll try all kinds of different types of foods, and I enjoy cooking different types of foods. I hated working in a restaurant, but I enjoy cooking at home. So it's part of what you need to figure out. Like, you want to have a variety. I think that's a big factor too for your gut biome, is to have a variety of vegetables, a variety of fruits, not just say, okay, I only have bananas, or I only eat cheeseburgers, or I only eat this. That'll cause a lot of problems down the road. Now, we're talking about gut health. there's a lot of research going into gut health these days, and your microbiome and what is really good for you, what is, and some people are even saying that there's potential to find certain bacterias that will actually reverse your aging processes. And you could take, like, they've taken uh, stool samples from overweight mice and put it into thin mice, and those thin mice become overweight, and taken the same thing and reversed it, and the overweight mice would become thin, and old mice are becoming young. And so they're learning that there's a huge part of this gut biome. In fact, I heard that we are more genetically diverse based on the bacteria and the biome that's in our body than we are as humans. 70%, I think it was the number, 70% of us, our genetic material is made up of this bacteria that's in the biome that's in our body and then created. So it's a huge part of it. They even call your gut, like, your second brain. Like, it has just as many neural pathways as your brain does and communicates. And, you know, there's a whole bunch of research happening in that area. So it's interesting to me. Really interesting to me. I look into that a lot. Not because it's going to necessarily affect me, my weight, but maybe there's something I could learn from that. Maybe I can learn, and I am learning. I'm learning that there's certain type of seaweed maybe that you should take to reduce inflammation in your brain and in your body. And the same thing with the different other processes. And so, but for me, I'm not really taking any kind of supplements. I've tried multivitamins in the past, and even little packages where they put together and say, okay, this is your daily account of this and that and this and that and this and that. Oh, okay. And it always made me feel bad. I always felt really awkward in my stomach. I always felt, so for me, it was never something that worked really well. Now, when I would start to feel like I was getting ill, I would take a huge dose of vitamin C, and that would help me. And so in that situation, I know sometimes I would take some vitamin D in the winter when I was feeling a little blah, and it helped me a little bit. I get a little bit of energy. But I think most of that stuff is supposed to be able to be getting from natural sources like vitamin D if you sit in the sun. Now, in the winter in Canada, maybe it's not always that easy to get access to the sun, and so you can take a supplement in that situation. But in the summertime, just go outside. Be in the sun. Get your vitamin D naturally. And don't drink juices. This is my suggestion. Don't drink juices. Like, if you're going to have apple juice, just have an apple. Because the fiber is hugely important for our digestive health and our gut biome. Because the fiber is what helps us regulate, first of all, how much sugar we're getting from our fruits. So if we're eating fruits, we get full. And so then we're reducing the amount of sugar that we're going to get from the fruits because we can't eat as much. But if you go in a juice situation, you can get 10 times the amount of sugar in the same amount of context. So then what you're getting is way too much sugar, and you get a sugar spike, and it's not good for you. It's better just to stick with the fruit itself. If you want to make a juice, fine. Take an apple, blend it in a blender, add some water to it or some milk or whatever you want, whatever kind of fruits, and mix it all up, blend it, and drink it. Keep the pulp in there. Keep the fiber in there. At least you're still having some. It'll fill you up. Put some protein powder in there too. Whey protein powder. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't have an issue with eating animal products, well, then go for it. I personally, I have no problem with that. I have no issues whatsoever. I'll eat animal products. I used to own chickens. I used to take care of my own chickens. And, when their lifespan was no longer sufficient, I had to cull them, and then we used them for food. It wasn't a fun process for me. I tell you the truth. It was hard for me. It was to end that life. And I had a little thing that I did, tell them that, thank you for your service. You did a fantastic job. You produced us with some eggs. We really, and then I would send them off as humanely as possible. It was never easy, never something I wanted to do, but it was a necessary thing to do. And it really gave me a perspective about my consumption of meat. It's not just meat sitting in the shelf. And I'm not sure about this meat that's grown in a lab. There's so much about natural things and what chemicals and what processes and what goes into, chicken eats bugs and eats this and eats that, and what did that turn into their flesh, into their body, and then we eat that, we get that. If you're growing it in a lab and it's 100% chicken bacteria, whatever it is, I'm not sure. Just overly processed or something, I'm not sure. So it doesn't sound appetizing for me. I don't think I'll ever do that. I'd get back to getting my own chickens and doing that again. I loved our eggs that we get, fresh eggs that we got. We would get chickens that are called Americanas. And so we would have blue and yellow and green eggs and, and some white eggs and some brown eggs, but lots of different color eggs. And it was really interesting to see that in your fridge. And, well, I never put them in the fridge. They stayed on the counter. Eggs will last a month or more on the counter as long as you don't wash them off. And then just before you use them, you wash them off and you use them. They last a long time outside of the refrigerator. It's once we process them, once we affect them, once we change them, then they no longer can last outside of the fridge. So I had not refrigerated eggs for a long time. We don't have chickens now. So now I buy eggs and we keep it in the refrigerator. So I don't feel as good about it, but hey, I'm still enjoying eggs. I like eggs. I love chicken. I like beef. I'm a fan of all those things. Pork, I'm okay with pork too. I'm not, not part of my beliefs not to eat those things. So I consume. So for me, I don't restrict. If I'm in the mood to have a bacon cheeseburger, I'll have a bacon cheeseburger. I try to keep it within between the 12 and 6. And I don't go crazy. I don't buy pop. I'll have a ginger ale at home every once in a while, but right now I'm having some flavored carbonated water, which, has a little tiny bit of sugar in it. So it's not fantastic, but it's far better for me than pop would be. But I am a coffee drinker, and I don't have sugar in my coffee. I just have milk. And if I do have something like cereal, which I haven't really had much of that lately, I use almond milk for that. Because, I could drink milk. I put milk in my coffee every day, and it doesn't seem to affect me. Not that I noticed. Maybe it is affecting me. I'm just not noticing it because it's a small thing. And maybe if I got off it for a while and then checked and see how I felt when I got back on it, I would notice the difference. And then maybe I'd change it again. That's something I'll have to plan to do. So, and then we as a household have decided that twice a week we're gonna fast. But we're not a complete fast. It's what they call a Daniel fast. We're only having fruits and vegetables, and so no meats, just 2 days a week. And it's more of a spiritual practice than it is a dietary practice. And not that it doesn't affect me positively in the dietary area, but it's more of a spiritual thing than it is a dietary thing. So this is what I'm doing. So we'll see how the process works for me. Like, so far at this point, it seems to be working well. I feel healthier. I feel more energetic. I have less aches and pains. I was on heavy-duty back medication, arthritis medication, and extra strength Tylenol every single day, because I had a lot of aches and pains, a lot of soreness, a lot. And in the last month and a half, I rarely take any back medication. Now, I worked really hard yesterday. I'm physically really, really sore today. My back is twingy, and I had a rough day at work, and I am very, very sore. So I took a back medication this morning. I took one last night before I went to bed. and took some extra strength Tylenol. And so I'm not saying I'm not going to do those things. I am going to do those things, but I am doing them less. It's not habitual for me anymore. Physically, I don't feel as rough as I had in the past. And plus I got myself some new shoes, which is fantastic because it really helps your foundation. And when you're walking, your feet don't get as sore, and you have nice structure underneath you, a nice grip. It just seems to change. Even the way I walk is better. Physically, I feel more confident even. So it makes a huge difference having really good quality shoes that you can wear that are solid underneath you. For me, it makes a huge difference. But that's not about food. I could get on tangents. I have a lot I want to talk about. There's a lot of areas I'm going into, a lot of things that I'm thinking about, a lot of stuff. Food is part of it. Mental assent is part of it. Mindset's a part of it. Physical activity is part of it. There's all kinds of things that's part of what I'm doing. And it is changing everything in my life. And it started with changing the way watching my thoughts, figuring things out, and then starting to envision myself physically fit and healthy. And I'm doing that. But now it's becoming such a good habit for me that I'm doing it on a regular basis, that I'm starting to see it and starting to feel it, and it's starting to manifest. But now I'm going to go into something more. I'm going to add to envisioning what I really want to be doing, which is standing on a stage and doing public speaking and helping people and being there for people and loving them. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's what I want to do. So envisioning is helping me even with the food, because I see myself as fit and healthy and strong. And I know that I am noticing things that I didn't notice before, because my reticular activating system, my mind, is showing me the things that it didn't show me before. Because really, this is how it's explained to me, and it makes total sense. If you saw and heard and felt every single thing that was going on in your body at all times, every thought that goes through your brain, you would go nuts. Because you have blood flowing everywhere, your digestion happening, your hair is growing, your eyes have to blink. If you thought about all those things all the time, you couldn't focus on anything else. So your body takes over all those things and you don't even notice them. You don't notice them. But when you start envisioning certain things and you start having a goal towards certain goals, your body says, okay, that's now important. So if we're going to achieve this goal, then he needs to know that he has cramps after he drinks milk. He needs to know that physically he's getting sore because he's moving the wrong way. He needs to know that his feet are sore, and that's causing a problem with his back, which is causing a problem with his shoulder, which is why his hands are sore. And so then all of a sudden you start noticing the things that you didn't notice before because you weren't focused on those things. And you're not focused on those things because you didn't have an vision in your mind, a goal to become better in a certain area. So now I am seeing the things that I need to see. I am going towards the things I need to go to. So my system is saying, okay. And then I also have faith. I believe in God, and I know God is directing my path to see where I need to see and look at what I need to look at and figure out what I need to figure out. And it includes all kinds of thought processes, all kinds of perceptions I have about myself, all kinds of stuff like that. And to see them, to recognize them, to, say, okay, why do I think that way? Why do I feel this way? Why? And look at it. We have one life to live. This is our body that we have. We don't have the technology to transplant my brain into somebody else's body and to walk around as some 20-year-old strong, fit guy. And if we did, with the same thought processes we planted in the body, that body would become old and withered and feeble in no time at all, because it hasn't changed what's going on up in here. So let's change it. So I'm changing it. And I'm sharing with you, so maybe you can get some insight into what you need to do for you to maybe change you. So more than anything else, start to be mindful and start to envision what you want. Just sit and close your eyes and see yourself and see yourself doing the things you want to do. If you want to run a marathon, I do never want to run a marathon. It's not interesting to me whatsoever. But if you do want to run a marathon, envision yourself running a marathon. See yourself running. Smell the environment. Feel the concrete under your feet. All this kind of stuff. Do that. If you want to be an Ironman, think of it. Go through the process of your running, and then you're swimming, and then you're biking, and then feel that and go that and have the energy and then the pride and maybe even the tired. Even move some of your bodies the way you would move if you were doing those things while you're envisioning. Just make it as real as possible. Feel the emotion. Try to sense the smells that you would smell. The smell of the salty water while you're swimming in it. All that kind of stuff. It'll help you. It'll start to activate that thing in you that says, okay, this is where we need to go. Okay, this is what I need to focus on. I am overweight. I cannot do that if I'm overweight. So we are eating too much junk food. So next time I eat a burger or something that I should be eating, pizza, and then all of a sudden I'll feel, oh, it feels really uncomfortable. And then you'll recognize the pattern. You'll say, oh, I had pizza, and now I feel terrible. Maybe it's pizza. Maybe it's that kind of pizza. Maybe it's the cheese. And then you'll figure it out, and you'll say, oh. And then you'll decide you don't want to feel that way anymore. Before, you wouldn't even notice it. You'll be like, whatever, that's just life. I am what I am. I feel like I feel. Oh, well. But you can change those things. You can change the way you look at life. You can change the way you look at yourself. And that, in turn, will change. I am not a finished product. I will never be finished. Until the day that I leave to go to my maker, I am in process. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, all that stuff. So this one was about food. Not to be gross, but part of what you could notice about your eating is your elimination, your BM, your bowel movement. If you have diarrhea, there's an issue. If you are constipated, there's an issue. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, if it's hard, if it hurts, if it's all this kind of stuff, there's issues. If it's burning, there's issues that you need to be aware of. So notice your patterns. If you have, I'd say a Greek salad, and you put lots of olive oil on it, and then all of a sudden you have the runs, well, maybe olive oil is a problem for you. Maybe tomatoes. Maybe nightshades is an issue for you. You need to look at that kind of stuff. So have some oil in something that, just to see if that affects you. If it doesn't affect you, you say, okay, it's not that. And then try some tomatoes in something and then see if it affects you. If it affects you, you say, okay, it's that. Figure this out. The way you have bowel movements can show you a lot about what's going on in your gut health. It's not just the food coming in your mouth, but it's the way you're releasing it. It shows what your physical health is. Losing weight is great, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You want to be healthy. You want to be physically healthy. I want to have enough health and energy in my life to walk through my days strong, fit, with lots of feeling of satisfaction, lots of feeling of accomplishment, of strength, of contentment, peace. Anyways, I think that's enough for today. I'll be recording another one probably on my physical stuff that I'm doing. That will probably be next. But for now, this one's about food. I didn't talk specifically about very many types of food to eat and what to eat. That's not for me to say. That's for you to decide what morally, spiritually, all that kind of stuff is important to you. So do the things that are important to you. And if you want to be a vegetarian, go for it. Do your thing. If you want to be keto, go for it. Do your thing. If you want to, whatever, do your thing. Just be aware of how what you're eating is affecting your body. Be mindful. It sounds ooshy and new agey to say, oh, be mindful, but man, it's so important. Know thyself. Be true. Know yourself. Knowledge is what keeps you going. You know, not like I'm always going to quote scripture, but, you know, the Bible says, a lack of knowledge is what my people perish. My people perish from a lack of knowledge. People are dying because they don't know themselves. They don't know how they're reacting to things. They can't physically feel the fact that they're having a high blood pressure. But you can be aware of what's reacting to you. And I don't have around right now, but I have a smartwatch, and my smartwatch has a sensor. And if I feel off, I can push a button. I can check my blood pressure. I can check my glucose. I can check all kinds of things on my watch. So check it. Like, why? What? No. Get to know yourself. Know how you are limited in your thoughts. Know how you're limiting your physical because of stuff that you're doing that you don't even realize that are really affecting you. You can change. You can be better. So change. Be better. Okay. I love you. I really do love you. I'm hoping to meet you all one day. Hope to stand in front of you. Show you the new me, physically stronger, thinner, mentally clearer, energy, all that stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this process, this walk, this understanding, this learning about me, so you can learn about you. Yeah, I'm excited. I love you. Okay.